I'm Adam Todd, and welcome to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. I've always believed that the best way to engage students in a 21st century classroom is to immerse them with the transformative tools that will empower each and every one of them to excel in the world that awaits. My goal is to ignite the spark that propels you and your students in an advanced tomorrow, and your journey into that future starts right now. Classroom Dynamics is supported by Logitech. As education continues to evolve, so does Logitech Education, your partner in content creation for the classroom. With Logitech's cutting-edge technology, students not only learn but also become content creators. Whether it's in person or online, Logitech's tools are designed to inspire educators and learners alike. Capture every educational moment in stunning detail and edit, produce, and share your creative journey with ease. Logitech Education, inspiring the next generation of creators. For more, visit logitech.com/education, transforming classrooms one innovation at a time. Introducing the Zone Learn wired headset from Logitech, the headset that's designed for learning and built for schools. Here are a few reasons why Zone Learn is the best headset option for today's students and schools. It's optimized to fit smaller heads with features like soft ear pads, a cushion headband, even weight distribution and micro-articulating ear cups that move in all directions. The audio driver is engineered for speech intelligibility, so spoken lessons come through crystal clear. And the movable boom mic is designed for better vocal clarity. It's durably designed to withstand frequent cleaning and constant wear and tear. My favorite aspect of the Zone Learn headset is that it's fully customizable and sustainable for both the environment and school budgets. The swappable ear pads come in over-ear and on-ear options. The interchangeable cables come in USB-A, USB-C, and audio jack options. This means that the ear pads and cables can be swapped out without replacing the entire headset. Plus, the Zone Learn is backed by a 3-year warranty, making it a smart, long-term investment for schools. Get your students into the learning zone with an elevated headset experience. Learn more at logitech.com/zonelearn.
For over 20 years, Higher Ground has designed functional technology protection, helping students to work or learn anytime, anywhere. I'm Mark, president of Higher Ground, and I want to share with you how you can get a free sample of any of our rugged shells, sleeves, or clear backpacks. Visit hggear.com/sample and use your school's email and address. One thing, don't tell Alex because he'll be stuck with all the paperwork. Request yours and see for yourself how Higher Ground can help save your students and school downtime and money. Just remember, don't tell Alex.
Mark, what are all these sample requests filling my inbox?
Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, the podcast where we get into the exciting world of technology and education. Hi everybody, I'm your host Adam Todd, and today I'm thrilled to introduce a special guest who's not only a passionate educator but also a key player in the world of EdTech, Sophie Youngs of Kami. Sophie began her journey as a middle school teacher teaching math, science, and tech for 6 years, and her love for teaching and technology led her to a new role as curriculum and technology coach, where she spent another 5 years helping teachers integrate innovative tools into their classroom. It was during this time that Sophie discovered Kami, a game-changing tool that has changed how teachers and students interact with digital content. On today's show, we'll explore Kami, which is a versatile EdTech platform designed to enhance collaboration, accessibility, and engagement in the classroom. Whether it's annotating PDFs, providing real-time feedback, or integrating with platforms like Google Classroom, Kami makes it easier for teachers to create dynamic, interactive lessons. Sophie's passion for this tool was so strong that she couldn't resist joining the Kami team as a teacher coach, where she now dedicates her time to empowering educators and enriching student learning experiences. Stay tuned as we dive into Sophie's insights on how Kami can transform your teaching and make your lessons more engaging and inspiring, including some new features that we guarantee will become instrumental in your classroom. So don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Teachers, are you looking for resources that spark creativity and inspire learning? Look no further than Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers. From comprehensive lesson plans and interactive lab books to engaging informational test prep passages, Highly Motivated has everything you need to keep your students motivated and excited to learn. Whether it's a quick activity or a full unit, these resources are designed to save you time and help students succeed. Highly Motivated, motivating teaching resources that engage and inspire. Search Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers today. She's a dedicated educator and talented Kami teacher coach, and she's here to explain how Kami is transforming classrooms and empowering both teachers and students everywhere. I'd like to welcome my good friend Sophie Youngs to Classroom Dynamics. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the show. I haven't seen you since ISTE, so it's great to see you and welcome.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you.
This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about something that is so cool that I got to see at ISTE in Colorado this past June, and a couple of the demonstrations that your team did, including yourself, were just so phenomenal. So before we even get started with all that cool stuff, before we get into all the fun and interactive ways you can now use Kami, for teachers who aren't familiar with it, explain what Kami is and what it can bring to classrooms.
Kami is everything you need for every student to succeed, from PDF annotation to AI-powered assessment to deliver accessible learning for all. You could put everything you do into Kami. Use materials that you love, open them into Kami, and sprinkle in a little Kami sparkle to make them more accessible and engaging with student voice, choice, and multimedia options. I fell in love with Kami because of the accessibility features, and this was the Kami that was 5 years ago and not even the amazingness that it is now. I saw students become independent learners for the very first time because they were able to open up the resources into Kami and listen to the read aloud tool on their own. They didn't need another person. They didn't need to be separated from the group. They didn't need to have a partner reading aloud to them. They were able to complete their work on their own, just like their peers using the exact same tool. And then they had the option to answer their work with a variety of options. Actually, they could do the voice typing, they could do the voice comments, whichever way they felt best for them. They were able to contribute to group work and independent work without a scribe, without asking how to spell things. It was amazing to see their confidence just blossom.
Isn't it amazing when you have, I don't want to say that crutch, but that safety net almost for the kids where they start to feel, okay, I can try this and I'm not going to fail. I can actually do this. And then, like you said, that confidence is right. Isn't that amazing to see?
It is. It's really amazing to see when a student finally goes from needing and feeling like they can't do anything on their own, that they do need that crutch. But when you accommodate them appropriately, they are independent learners. They can do this on their own.
Yeah, it really is amazing. Kami recently, and this was brought up at ISTE a lot, recently made some really great, significant user interface and accessibility improvements. You just touched upon a couple of them. Could you walk us through some of those updates and explain how they make the app not only just user-friendly for both teachers and students, but that, like you said, that accessibility feature? How does that work with everything?
Over the summer, Kami launched our biggest update yet. The goal at Kami is to help every single student succeed in their own way. So we strive to give teachers everything that they need to easily bring that to life. We have 4 pillars of focus that we initiated and put out over the summer, and it was a more accessible digital learning environment, which included revamping everything that's inside of Kami. We had a glow up. The dashboard is different. The icons are larger. We updated the icons so that they are more universal, and we rearranged some things so that it made more sense. It was a little bit more intuitive. You didn't have to click and search and look. The eyeball literally stands for something that you look with your eyes. Like it makes sense now. That was 1. 2 is AI-powered assessments to save teachers time. 3 is greater classroom insights to help inform instruction. And 4 is the more seamless integration with Google Classroom.
So you just hit on the word of the year this past year, which was AI, right? That has been the phrase and the word of the year. I don't think I've heard those letters put together in a sentence more than in the last year alone. And I think we're obviously going to hear about it a lot more in the classroom as we move forward as well. So more and more, AI seems to be becoming that imperative tool in the classroom, especially on the teacher's end. Kami's Questions AI, or otherwise known as QAI, seems like a game changer. I know it is. I've seen it for both formative and summative assessments. Let's get into how this tool works and how it could not only enhance daily instruction, but can lead to excellent sources of data for teachers that ultimately, let's be honest, has to be used and can be used to drive instruction.
As you mentioned, we now have a Questions AI tool. And when we started finally previewing it, some of my friends across the nation were like, well, it's about time Cami brought in AI. But we didn't want to just jump on the bandwagon just to have AI. We wanted it to be purposeful AI. And we designed it so that it can help teachers save time by quickly creating formative and summative assessments that automatically grade. And it's only a teacher-facing tool purposely designed to be a teacher-facing tool only. Students don't have access to it unless they're answering the questions. The question tool has options for the teacher to pick and choose. The instructional material that you bring in to Cami will guide sort of how you use the Questions AI tool. You can convert existing questions that you already have, that you already love, or that is already provided to you and you're required to use. You can just easily convert them into auto-graded questions. You can also take whatever material you have, whether it is a drawing, an image, text, almost anything that's like flat right now, as in like not a movie yet. And it will generate questions.
I like that hint, yet.
You can generate questions for you. And then you can also create questions from scratch if you already know what you want to ask. All the options provide auto grading, such as it auto marks the question for you and it auto tallies the grade for you. Right now, when you're generating questions from a text-based file, an image, a drawing, all the above, you will get 2 types of questions, multiple choice and short answer. Questions AI will generate the questions, the answer key, and a hint that you can choose to turn on or leave off. But there's even more. The teacher has the power to choose the grade level of the questions, how many of each type, if the questions are asked on, below, or above grade level, and the depth of knowledge for each question set. So you could say, I want on grade level, depth of knowledge 1, multiple choice. I want 5 of those. And then I want 5 more, short answer, depth of knowledge 3. And they will generate all of those based off of the information that you have inside of Cami.
So you're not only personalizing, but you're differentiating on multiple grade levels within your classroom to get that data right that teachers need. Because then, of course, that will lead to a new set of data, which might then in the next set of lessons or units that are coming up might then change what you just did and reshuffle everything again. So you're constantly personalizing for them.
Yes. And it gives the teacher the option to pick and choose how that's going to happen. And if you love that question, you can save it to your annotation bank to pull out and reuse again and again, maybe tweak it, change the number, change a phrase or a word for the similar situation, but to test again. So you already have like that template question made and you can just tweak it and go and not have to recreate the wheel each and every single time.
Right. And I think teachers don't realize that that's such a big thing, because when you can do a little bit of the work up front and then have that in your back pocket all the time later on, and it doesn't even have to be later on that year. It could be the following year. Sometimes it could be 2 or 3 years later. It's that question set or that lesson or whatever you're using, those tools are there already. They don't have to go back and redo it. So therefore, that upfront work that you might do a little bit now will give you loads of time later on.
Exactly. And even when you're like converting the questions, you can use the questions that are on the document that you have opened inside of Cami, or you can open up a blank page and pick something that isn't opened into Cami for it to convert those questions for you, such as a PDF downloaded version of a Google form or something that is you just downloaded off the internet that you really love, or something that is from your curriculum that you have to use. And it can convert those questions to auto-grading questions. And right now we support multiple choice, short answer, and mark all that apply question types that will automatically convert for you. And it will even suggest the answer for you. If it includes the answer key, it will go with the answer key. Like it knows that that's the answer key and it will like do that for you. But sometimes when you're converting, there's just not enough information there. And that's just with any AI tool, is you're only given the questions. If you don't have the answer key in there, sometimes it won't have the suggested answer. But even if it does give you the wrong answer, you can fix it. You have complete editing options.
So for teachers who prefer to create their own questions from scratch, how does QAI facilitate that process, and what level of customization is available to them?
There is a create from scratch option, which is the OG questions tool, but it has also had a glow up. Not a lot of people know that we've had a questions tool previously, but it was in like a sort of open beta. You had to turn it on, but now it's in there embedded in with our questions AI, which is it's precisely what it sounds like. You're going to create it from scratch. You already know what the question is that you want to ask, so you just make them. Once any of the questions, whether they're generated, converted, or created from scratch, they can all be completely edited and customized. You can change a short answer question to a mark all that apply, or even a drop down type of question, or take a multiple choice and turn it into a short answer. You can fix the answer key, tweak the question, and randomize the order of the answer options.
It's amazing. It really is. And when you guys were showcasing all these features at ISTE, I'll tell everyone who's listening now, the mouths were on the floor. Right? How many times did you look up and people were pointing and saying like, oh my God, oh, I can't wait to do that, right? That they had this expression on their face like, wow, like you hit them with all the things they ask for and kind of need sometimes in the classroom, especially in a 21st century classroom. You were just kind of giving them everything they always hoped they could have. And there was that true, genuine, raw emotional reaction to what you guys were showcasing. So, kudos to you guys.
Where the mouths dropped was in the insights, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but that's when the mouths dropped.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, we got some auto-graded questions. I can do that with this, or this. But when you actually get student work, like you get the work, you assign it to your students start answering the question, and you go into class view. That's where the magic is. And that's what people don't realize Kami has turned into. From PDF annotation to AI generated assessments, accessible for everybody, because it has grown so much since we're 11 years old now. We've grown so much since the beginning that people are thinking that Kami is still just that PDF annotation tool to get us through COVID, when there's so much has happened since then.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, because, a lot of people do think, okay, certain things do only certain things. But now with AI and the way computers have evolved, especially like you said, even over the last, forget about 11 years, probably even the last 3 years, right? Think about the jump we've had in 3 years. That interactive, immersive feel to it. You almost feel like you're almost within the program. It's not just a two-dimensional thing anymore. You feel three-dimensional with that. And I think teachers appreciate that, and they like that because, on a daily basis, something like this helps them tremendously on multiple different levels in different curriculum areas. And I think that's something that they truly understand and want and are thirsty for.
Yes, I agree. Being able to have different depths, not like you said, not just like the two-dimensional, not just the text and the writing, but then Kami allows you to do videos and comments that are screen capture, video, voice, to get your actually in the file with your student and guiding them over and over again, not just the text that they read.
Yeah, it definitely gives it more of a personal feel to it, for sure.
Yes.
Let's talk about another new feature that Kami has added, which is the question markers features. All right. So first off, what are the question markers and what's their purpose?
I love the question markers, and I helped name this one because we were like, what are we going to call it? Pins, tags? I'm like, markers, because question markers. Anyways. There are 3 ways that you can choose to display questions in Kami, and one of them is a question marker. But before you even get there, first time, all you do is like make the questions. You generate, create, convert, or make them from scratch. You can just choose to let them live in the side panel. And that's what you see when you start using Questions AI, is that side panel over on the right. They can just stay right there as is, and you don't have to do anything else. You can assign that file exactly the way it is. So it's like a create and assign in a flash. You can also choose to place the questions on the page, covering up old questions, taking up space. And sometimes, though, that's not appropriate because maybe it's a reading passage and you don't have that space for the question to be in. So that's when you can convert the question or turn on the ability to do a question marker. It's this little rectangular speech bubble-ish type thing. And you can place that on a page just like a push pin to indicate to students that there is a question attached to this marker, and they can then click on it and it will pop open the side panel where the question is. It's a really great way to, by the time you get to this point in the passage, you should be able to answer this question type of thing.
And would you be able to put in like those higher order thinking questions? Can we give an example too of that?
Any of the questions can be placed this way. So whichever question you choose to place on the page that you can. So whatever you've designed and created already, customized already, you can do that. And if you're giving your students a reading passage, you can place the question markers near where they can find the answer if you need that sort of scaffold. If you're analyzing data or a map, you can use the question markers so that the questions don't take up that space, covering up the important information. The full questions are still visible 100% as interactive, typing in their answer boxes, clicking on the correct answers if it's multiple choice or drop down, all hanging out in the new side panel on the right side of their screen. And so the depth of knowledge and level of questions that you've created and where you place them is completely up to you. It's completely customizable on where you want them to be, if they're placed on the page taking up space with the question marker, or if they just hang out and live over in the side panel.
That's awesome. It really is. It's just amazing the kind of time saving it could do, because let's be honest, there are so many things that a teacher has to do during the course of the day, and they will complain because of workload. We have to be honest, like there is a heavy workload nowadays, especially with technology, and sometimes technology could cause a workload and sometimes the technology could take away the workload. So one thing that teachers complain about the most is about how much time it takes to grade assessments. That is probably, if you probably ask every teacher, it's probably like the number one. If we were doing like Family Feud, it'd probably be like the number one answer, right? But Questions AI has an answer to that because it offers the auto grading. It offers the marking and the tallying. How does this automation, so to speak, impact the assessment process for teachers and students? And are there any limitations to be aware of that they should know of?
The auto grading, marking, and tallying is live. So once you set it up and you pick your answer key, when you create it, as soon as you assign it and your students start interacting with the file, answering your questions, it's live. You can literally sit there in class view and watch their questions turn red and green as they are working through their activity.
That's amazing. That's amazing because if you really think about it, right? If a lot of red's coming up, you might want to just stop right there and figure out what you're doing, right? I mean, how many times has it's such a great point. I'm so glad you actually said that because, and I'm sorry I interrupted there, but how many times has a teacher in the past given a quiz or a test, let them use 30 or 40 minutes to do it, especially those strugglers who are, they're not getting it, they're not doing well. And you sit there for like another 2 hours at home grading them by hand, and you find out that everybody
bombed.
Wrong. Right.
Everybody bombed.
What a gigantic waste of time. But here, go ahead. I'm sorry, you have an answer.
And because it wasn't just a waste of time, them doing that practice wrong is solidifying those misconceptions. So with Cami, what we're sort of, me, not Cami in general, but me, I'm sort of suggesting that you use this tool during the learning, during the time that you're instructing, during your instructional materials, and place them on there so you can get those quick check for understanding things while you're teaching or while they're working independently or in small groups. You can still see their answers if you put them in there along the way, so that it guides your instruction so that you don't get to the test or the quiz and see all red.
It's even better. Talk about immediate feedback. It's even better than like an exit ticket, because as exit tickets, you're going to wait to the end of the period to find that out. But here you could actually, within the class period of time, if you have to pivot, you're going to pivot. If you have to pivot a second time, you're going to pivot a second time, right?
Yes. And I was a math teacher. So this data, I geek out about it every time I see it. I'm like, all the different graphs. So you can go into your class view, which is a newer feature in Cami, which is a single tab where a teacher can see all the students working on this one assignment. And they can watch the questions turn red and green depending on the answers. You can also switch in that view, your first view, when you come into class view, it's called pages view, and you see the entire page that the student is using. And if it's multiple pages, you can scroll and see all of their pages. If there's a bunch of students, you can scroll and see a bunch of students. I when we first made this, I was like, oh my gosh, where was this when I was teaching 150 middle school kids? Because this would have saved me so much time just when previewing their practice work or grading a test that was 3 pages long. I could easily scroll through class view, marking everything, giving them feedback, and moving on to the next page seamlessly, instead of having to actually have 5 stacks of papers on my desk, turning the page. All that takes time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it would have saved my back a whole lot of pain, because I didn't finish in my planning period.
Yep, exactly. Think about even the pre-assessment stuff. You want to give
Yeah.
a pre-assessment, even if it's just 10 questions, and to visually just get an idea of how much they already know and what they may not know, and then plan accordingly to then, to your point, use the planning period the way it's supposed to be made and used, which is to prep for what you're going to do next.
We went a step further in our class view. There is now an answers tab. So if you have questions on your assignment and you click on the answers tab, it gives you a more holistic view of just the questions. So you can just like get rid of all the text and the background and the drawings and the work that they're doing. And you can just look at the questions, whether they're getting them right or wrong, and why they're getting them right or wrong, and try to identify a pattern. If number 3 is missed by everybody, you can easily see that.
Right. There's your reteach right there.
There's your reteach right there. And you can click on the question and see if it's wrong because the answer key is wrong, or if it really is wrong. Or if it's partially correct. When you're in that answers view, you can select whether it is partially correct, give them partial credit. If it's wrong, if it's incorrect, if it wasn't answered, you have the option to pick and choose those, what you assign to that question for that student and the allotted points that you want them to do. But it will automatically allot the points according to what it thinks it wants, but then you always have the power to override that.
That's amazing. All right. Now that we talked about all the good stuff that we have and the new stuff that just came out and things that teachers can now use it for, what are some other updates that maybe we haven't spoken about that you could talk about? Okay, obviously, if you can't, you can't. But are there any updates that are coming just for teachers, especially teachers who they're brand new, they're not used to using Kami in this fashion, or they want to get started in Kami? What are some things that are new that they can use? But before you answer that, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk about some of those other updates that Kami might have that Sophie could share with us, and perhaps try in your classroom in the near future. So we'll be right back in just 30 seconds. Every classroom has the potential to be extraordinary, and the Logitech Reach Adjustable Content Camera is your partner in making that happen. With its flexible arm and clear video, you can showcase everything from detailed drawings to live experiments, ensuring every student is engaged and involved. Whether you're teaching in person or online, Logitech Reach helps you connect with your students in a whole new way. Ready to take your lessons further? Visit logitech.com/reach and elevate your classroom to a whole new level. Welcome back to Classroom Dynamics. We're talking with Sophie Youngs from Kami today. And before the break, I asked Sophie about anything she could share that's going to be coming up new with Kami, especially with teachers who have used it in the past and kind of want to get back into it. And because all this stuff that they're hearing now is kind of stirring some, the wheels going in their heads and anything like that. And of course, new teachers who are just starting out brand new to the profession or their first year teaching. Are there any things that you can share? You kind of hinted at one earlier. Is there anything else that you could share with us?
I do want to discuss 3 things in detail, but I do some new things that we are working on. I can't go into much detail on them, but we are taking teacher feedback very seriously. And this is one of the things I love about working at Kami, because I was one of those teachers. I suggested a tool, I suggested a feature, and it is in there now. It's the camera.
Nice.
It's the camera tool. It's in there now. And they listen to the teacher. So if you've got an idea, if you've got something that you want, if something's not quite working the way it works best for you, let us know, because your voice matters. We're creating this for you and your students. So if it's going to help your students improve their learning or save you even more time, please let us know. Now, I would like to highlight 3 newer features that we didn't really discuss here in detail, and they've been around for a little bit of time, but they're not very well known. And that is Class View, Insights, and Update All. I would have killed for Update All, but we'll get to that. If I were teaching again, I would live in class view. Class view is a unique feature of Kami that allows the teachers to view all student documents in one tab live. The teacher can monitor student work from anywhere in the room. Additionally, the teacher can provide live feedback, support, and encouragement on individual student work. Get this, each student can have individualized support from the teacher, all from one tab, instead of opening up a tab for each and every single student. And they can provide that support in the best medium for each student because Kami has text, voice, and video options. From inside of ClassView, a teacher has access to the Insights button, which is where I geek out, which goes one step further than the Answers view that I mentioned earlier. It allows the teacher to see a summary of student progress for that assignment. You get an overview of student performance, such as the class average and score distribution in a cute little bar graph. It also lists some student performance in the top, median, and lowest scores, giving you your groups, your targeted groups are already created for you right there based on that assignment.
No guesswork. No guesswork is the key part, right? I love that.
Right. And then like don't go on your gut instinct, go on what the data shows you. Like that's the proof, right? If you do include questions in your assignment, then in your Insights button, you're also going to get assignment analysis, which breaks down the assignment by question, providing the teacher with the question itself, the type of question that it is, your max score, your percent complete, and the percent correct. Just super easy to identify that most missed question and then go in and support all of your students at the exact same time, which usually this is what would happen. And I remember this plain, like it was me being the anxious kid. This happened. I would ask a question and the teacher would be like, you're the third one. And then immediately go up to the board and say, everybody stop. We're going to go over this question. But everybody knew I had that question.
Yep.
But with Kami,
it's true. It happens though. It really does. It does happen.
Everybody knew I was the one that asked that question. She knows that I wasn't the only one, but nobody else knows that I wasn't the only one. And so, yeah, I would be super embarrassed to be the one. But now with Kami, that never has to happen again because you can go in and do update all. There's a button inside of Classroom where it's a little toggle. You just talk it over and it changes your screen to where you open up the template file. And so then whether the students are in your room that day or not, for whatever reason, all the students can get that support that they need with the Kami updates all. So it allows the teacher to go into the template that's already been assigned. Students have already been working on it and add support hints, some reminders, highlight something, put a box around something, add in a little instructional reminder, a YouTube video, a graphic organizer, whatever it is that will help them answer that question and publish them to all of your students at the exact same time. So if you don't catch this misconception until after the school day, that's fine. If you catch it during class, you can address it in class, but what if that kid wasn't there? You can then put it on everybody's page for them to use when they're doing homework, when they're reviewing, when they're studying, or when they come back and they're in your classroom again. But if you're anything like me, then the most missed questions were probably mostly missed because the answer key is wrong. And so no worries.
It does happen, right? Let's be honest. It does happen.
No worries. Because with Update All, you can fix it and your students will never know. And you don't have to fix any of the calculations because Kami will fix that for you.
That's great. Well, listen, this has been incredibly informative, such an engaging discussion. I'm really thrilled we had the opportunity to learn more about your role with Kami and some of the things that you even brought into the Kami world for teachers to make such a significant impact in a 21st century classroom. Before we go, I like to play a game that I like to call input output. So we have just a couple minutes left. I'm going to ask you a question and you're just going to give me the first thing that comes to your mind. There are no wrong answers, so you don't have to worry about that. Sound good? Okay. You're ready? Okay. What's one app on your phone that you just can't live without?
Slack.
What is Slack?
Slack is a communication tool for Kami. So it's not just for Kami, but like anybody can have a Slack app and a Slack account. I had a teacher friend that was in this group of math teachers and they had a Slack account and like it's a community. You can have as many, basically it's a big chat room for your company, and you can have different channels or rooms for different topics. And yeah, I have it on my phone all the time. I use it when I'm out at conferences. I use it when I'm jumping over to the school really quick to see something that's going on with my kid, and I'm still connected to work, which is a terrible work-life balance thing to say, but I do. I touch Slack all the time.
Yeah, but if it makes your life easier, right?
It does. It makes my life
Then
so much easier.
it's
Yes.
totally worth it then. What's your favorite Cami feature that you think, I think you kind of already mentioned this, but what's your favorite Cami feature that you think will change the way teachers and students actually do work?
Class view.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
It's class view, hands down. It's class view. I also really love the annotation bank because it can save even more time. Any of that feedback that you say again and again, you can save to your annotation bank and just pull it out when you need to do it again. Because about the 15th time that you're asking students to tell me what they're talking about in this math problem that has no units labeled anywhere, it's not as nice as the first time you say it.
Right.
So you could just say it, save it, and drag it out anytime you need it.
A teacher that you had growing up that you admired even today, and why?
There's always like, oh, every teacher has a teacher that inspired them and made them want to become a teacher or loved them and blah, blah, blah. And I never really did growing up. I did in college. So I would have to say it is Dr. Deb Himmler. She is at Fairmont State University. She's the interim dean of the geoscience department there, I believe is what her new title is. She gave me a job in undergraduate as her undergraduate assistant, created a graduate assistant job so I could continue working for her when I became a graduate student, and is still mentoring me to this day. She is an amazing human being. She's helped me through so many different things, personal and professional, and she's the first teacher that I helped integrate technology into the classroom. So I would have to say
a little bit of a symbiotic relationship there.
Yes. Yes.
And I think when she hears this, she'll be very proud and happy that you actually mentioned her.
She'll be floored and thankful. Deb, you're amazing. You are amazing.
If you could go back in time and give your 10-year-old self, so think about this, you're 10 years old. If you can go back in time, give your 10-year-old self a piece of technology from today, what would it be and why?
Cami.
Like
legit. Because I am late diagnosed ADHD and I had extreme reading comprehension issues because my brain would stop paying attention to what my eyes were reading. And if I had the read aloud tool, it would have changed my entire life. It would have changed my all the way through high school. My mom would get I'm in honors English. I'm like straight A student. My mom would get my honors English summer reading books and record herself reading them aloud so that I could listen to her while I was reading to keep focused. If I had had Cami's read aloud feature and the ability to listen to a British man talk to me instead of this nasally voice that's in my head, my scores would have gone like through the roof, even though I worked so hard for it. So I wouldn't have had to work so hard.
And think about all the kids that may fall into that category now that you might be able to help and support in a way that you never thought imaginable before.
That's why I work at Cami, because I love it so much and how it can help every single student, whether they're diagnosed and have an IEP or not. If you're using Cami in the classroom, they're going to get support and they're going to need the help that they need. Even a student that is completely neurotypical can benefit from having a feature or a tool that is inside of Cami, because not everybody has perfect days. Maybe they're having a bad day. They just need a little bit of support.
Yeah, you can't have an A day every day, correct? You're
Right.
You're going to have B and C and D days too, especially kids. Because
they're still learning how to be a human.
It's true though. You are very passionate about that. And, I'm glad you actually said that, because it does make sense that you'll be passionate enough to make that change to hopefully help someone that that you may even see yourself in today, which is great.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that I'm here talking about Cami with you, because I have this ability now. When I moved from the classroom to a coach, I felt that I could help more students because I'm helping more teachers.
Right.
I went from a coach to a Cami coach because I now have the ability to help even more teachers, help even more students. And I am very passionate about having accessible learning for all.
Finally, if you can challenge teachers to make one small change in their classrooms for this school year, what would it be?
Do better feedback. If you feedback more, you're going to be teaching less.
That is true. That's a great point. That's a great point. Well, listen, this has been, like I said, so informative, such an engaging conversation. I'm really glad we had the opportunity to have you on today and learn more about Cami and, of course, yourself, and how you're lifting the level of EdTech in classrooms everywhere. Before we go, tell everyone where they can go to find out more about Cami and how educators can get started with it.
To learn more about Cami, you can go to our website at camiapp.com. That's KAMIAPP.com, or follow us on socials at camiapp. That all of the socials, we have the same handle. And you can get started by going directly to your Cami dashboard. And what you can do is type into your address or cami.app, so cami.app, and sign in with your school email address. You can click continue with Google, continue with Microsoft, or type in whatever email address you want. Make sure that you select that you're a teacher, because the teacher gets all the bells and whistles. And if this is your very first time signing into Cami and you are a teacher, you start out, like you select that you're using this for school and that you're a teacher, you're going to start out with a free trial of all the premium tools and features that we talked about today.
Fantastic. I love it. Well, for those of you who have been listening, thank you for tuning in today, and make sure that you share what you've learned or any takeaways and reflections that you've had, and tag us on Twitter at Class Dynamics or Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. We always look forward to hearing your thoughts on our episodes and sharing the different ways in which you're using what you've learned. You can also help support Classroom Dynamics with as little as $3 a month at classroomdynamicspodcast.buzzsprout.com. Once again, I'd like to thank Sophie Youngs from Cami for joining us today on Classroom Dynamics. It's been a real pleasure seeing you again, talking with you, and having you on with us to discuss this exciting and impactful approach to fostering meaningful collaboration among our students. I think it's great what you guys are doing, and the upgrades and the updates that have been implemented, I think, are just going to get better and better as time goes on. So thank you for the time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and keep an eye out. We got a lot of stuff coming.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of Classroom Dynamics, where knowledge and inspiration meets innovation. I hope you've enjoyed today's discussion and found it both insightful and uplifting. As always, my goal is to provide you with practical strategies, engaging stories, and powerful insights that can fuel your motivation as an educator. I believe that when knowledge and inspiration do come together, incredible things can happen in your classroom. And for all of you who may think that it's too late to strengthen your craft, I challenge you to make it your mission to do so. You've worked hard to get to where you are today, and it's never too late to infuse new life into your work. So why not make today that day to do so? I'm Adam Todd, and you've been listening to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. You can follow Classroom Dynamics on X at Class Dynamics and on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. If you haven't already, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'll be back soon with more captivating conversations, inspiring stories, and strategies that you can implement into your everyday routines. Until then, keep igniting the spark in your classroom and never stop believing in the incredible impact that you have as an educator. You're more powerful and inspirational than you think. Did you miss our exciting episode with EdTech? Well, if so, join me as I sit down with Jared Ebersol and Luke St. Amand, the dynamic duo behind EdTech, who are on a mission to inspire the next generation of engineers through e-skateboards and e-scooters with STEM.
Both of our backgrounds, we're both engineers now. So I was an engineer at Amazon. Jared's a self-taught mechanical electrical engineer. So we definitely like to learn. It's just learning in the right way. And for us, kids are smart and they know hey, if this has no value, this is just a piece of paper I need to fill out, or I just need to listen for 45 minutes about something that, doesn't interest me or has little applicability outside. And that's no fault to the teacher or curriculum. It's just the way of which it's taught is how we're trying to change it. So this is, a product, but it's also a way to kind of connect to the outside environment.